Today's lesson is a little bit more in quadratic equations. We're actually going to do some use the quadratic equations to help us do some problem solving. We're going to try to solve some problems. According to this problem, smoke jumpers are in free fall from the time they jump out of an airplane until they open their parachutes. The function y equals negative 16t squared plus 1600 models a jumper's height y in feet at t seconds for a jump from 1600 feet. The question is, how long is the jumper in free fall if the parachute opens at 1,000 feet? Uh-huh. But it didn't say how many feet does he fall. It says how long is he in that free fall. Right? Question? Okay. So this is asking, when they say how long, they mean how much time? Go ahead. All right. It might help us to have a graph. So if we take that function and graph it, it looks something like this.
Well, where do you get the graph from that equation?
Where do I get the graph?
Yeah.
Well, I know the vertex is going to be at 0, something, right? Because there's no b value. So it's going to be 0, 1600, right? And then I can find x-intercepts by setting negative 16t squared plus 1600 equal to 0 and solving for t. And once I have that, if I've got the vertex and the x-intercepts, I've got 3 points that will help me find the shape of that graph. That's section 1 stuff when we graphed them. Section 1 or 2. Yeah. So this parabola, this is the whole function. It doesn't really describe what's really going on with this smoke jumper, because the smoke jumper can't jump at a negative time, right? So we really only need to look at this from where time equals 0 out to the right. So our smoke jumper's in his airplane up there, and he jumps out of his airplane, and at 1,000 feet he's supposed to pull the cord, and then he free falls that rest of that distance to the ground. Not free fall. He parachutes the rest of that distance to the ground after he free falls. If we can find what's going on at that point, we should be able to answer the question. What does the x-axis represent for this problem?
Ground.
It represents the ground, but what do the units on here represent? Time, right? Time in seconds. What does the y-axis represent? Height in feet. Okay. So the point x, y right here, what's the x represent? The same thing. It's the time in seconds. The y represents the height. Okay. We know that the height is at 1,000 feet. Now, he's actually parachuting down from the point where the arrow is here to the ground, to the yellow dot. He's free falling from the vertex to the point. So I want to know what's going on at that point. If I can find the time at that point, I can pretty much answer the question, right? So the height is 1,000 feet at that point. That equals negative 16t squared plus 1600. What's t in this problem? Time. What do they want to know? How long? If I can find t right there, am I done? I think so. So if I'm going to subtract the 600 or 1600 from both sides, I've got negative 600 equals negative 16t squared. If I divide both sides by negative 16, I've got t squared is 37.5. I want to know t, but I have t squared. What do? Square root. Time can't be negative, so we're just going to keep the positive value. It's at approximately 6.12 seconds that he's going to. That's the amount of time he's actually going to free fall before he pulls the cord at 1,000 feet. So did we have to have the picture to do this problem, the graph? No, we had the function that the height equals negative 16t squared plus 1600, and we just want to know how much time has passed when we get to 1,000 feet. So if we could have just done this whole thing algebraically without the geometric picture. And sometimes that works, and sometimes it's difficult because you can't see what to do without a little sketch at least. Here's one for you to try. A smoke jumper jumps from 1,400 feet. The function describing the height is almost the same, y equals negative 16t squared plus 1,400. We need to find the time during which the jumper is in free fall if the parachute opens at 1,000 feet. Let's go ahead and try that. If you're working at home, pause the video when you're ready to check your answer with ours. Press play. Let's take a look at this problem. We've got our smoke jumper again. Actually, we've got our smoke jumper. I got to draw this one out. Did you guys just go ahead and do this purely algebraically, because we've already had the picture to kind of explain it to us on the other problem? So did you just do a pure algebraic one on this? No, they jump toward the edge of it and walk toward the fire. Don't jump. We're going to subtract the 1,400 from both sides.
How come they can't get in truck? It's the forward.
Divide by 16, negative 16. T squared comes out to be 25. So t is going to be positive or negative 5. And we only want the positive 5 because it's time. So we've got 5 seconds. Any questions there? Okay.